and waiting for Krishna to speak. Krishna gives a nice, wonderful smile. Till now, Arjuna was advising Krishna. And now, Arjuna wants to hear. He wants the knowledge. So, 11th verse onwards, 30th verse, it is one section solving the first reason of Arjuna for not fighting.
Voice is not clear, Mataji. Breaking.
Interchanged.
Mataji, your voice is not clear.
Is it clear now?
Not that
clear?
much.
Now it's clear.
Okay, little bit disturbance.
Voice is clear, but your voice is very low.
Yeah.
Now it's coming low.
Sound is not coming clear.
Wait. Preeti is able to hear.
Yeah, now it's okay.
It's okay?
Yeah.
So we have 4 reasons given in the first chapter, and the fifth reason is given in the second chapter. The 4 reasons were compassion, enjoyment, sins, and family tradition. Right? Voice is coming? Okay. Now the first reason, that is compassion. Oh, they are my people. How can I kill them? 31st verse of first chapter. 1.31. For 1.31 is the answer is 11 to 30th verse. Just see. How many verses? 11 to 30 means how many? 22 verses? That means 22 verses. That much explanation has been given by Krishna to Arjuna. Sankhya Yoga. Who am I? Am I the body or the soul? But how is this body? Body is perishable, but soul is imperishable. So in this way, defining the difference between the body and soul, compassion should never be on the bodily platform which Arjuna had. Compassion should be always on the spiritual platform. Sometimes we have compassion on the bodily platform. Oh, they are my people, they are my relatives, all these things are the bodily platform. Spiritual platform, yes. One should understand the jnana. What is a jnana? The jnana is that soul is always connected to Krishna. That is how we have to connect everyone to Krishna. That is compassion on the spiritual platform. Let us see. Now there are 2 types of bodies. When you see somebody dying, Arjuna is seeing his grandfather is going to die, teacher is going to die, all the relatives, friends are going to die. What is he seeing? He is seeing the death of the cross body. But Krishna says there is another body, subtle body, man, buddhi, ahankar. And that is still living. You're only crying for one body, but another body which is living. For that, why are you not crying? Because the soul has yet not lost one subtle body. That is why Dhira Purusha never cries for the seeing the death of a person. Why? Because he knows the soul never dies, and also the subtle body is not dead. So now Krishna wants to say, Arjuna, that you're talking like a pandita. That means you're talking like a fool. This is the eloquence of speech. If you want to say, you're a foolish person, you don't know how to speak, it will hurt a person. Instead of that, if you say, you're talking like a learned person, but actually you're not understanding the basic things. That means what? You're talking like a fool. Instead of saying like that, eloquence of speech. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashochan Anvashocastvam Prakyavadamscha Bhashase Gatasu Agatasumscha Nanushocanti Panditaha. Before that, Bindu Mataji, Haribol, there is a new person who has joined today, Anshul Swargam. If he is really interested, please connect to him. Connect to him, or I can remove him from the group. Just please connect to him. Who is this Anshul Swargam? He wanted me to join the group, but today now he's not there in this class. Already he is late for the, but now the Bhagavad Gita has started. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Till now, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, all the teachings are starting from now on. Till now, what we are doing then? That was Purva Kriya. Some arrangement has to be done. Some scene has to be created for the knowledge to be transmitted. So this scene is keeping Arjuna in ignorance, is a scene. Arjuna crying, and Krishna is going to speak. Now what Krishna says? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashochan Anvashocastvam Pragyavadamscha Bhashase Gatasun Agatasumscha Nanushocanti Panditaha. Ashochan Anvashocastvam. Ashochan means which is not worthy of lamentation. What are you doing? Anvashocastvam. You are lamenting. Tvam, you. You are lamenting on those things which is not worthy of lamentation. That means you are lamenting on the gross body. I will not fight. I will be killing my people. I cannot see the people dying. But gross body is not going to remain whether you fight or whether you don't fight. The gross body is going to go. Even the subtle body also will go only when bhakti is taken up. The mind is completely purified. But this gross body anyhow is going to be killed. And then Prakyavadanshcha bhashase. How are you speaking? Like a learned person. You're speaking like a learned person, but this is not the characteristics of a learned person. So what is the characteristic of a learned person? Gatasun agatasumscha nanu shochan pandita. So the wise, they never lament. They never lament when they never lament. For what? For the living, not for the dead. Gata, agata. Gata means which is living. Agata means which is lost. Agata means which is yet not lost. What is lost? Gross body. Agata. What is not lost? Subtle body. Man buddhi ahanta. So gata asuna. Asuna means life. Agata asuna. Gata means which is gone. Gaya. Gata. What is gaya? Chale gaya. Sharir chalega. What is not lost? Man buddhi ahankar. Subtle body is not lost. So Dhira Purusha, a Pandita, na anusochat, never cries. This is Jnana. This is a knowledge. Sankhya. Sankhya means Jnana. Sankhya means Jnana. Jnana Yuga, Sankhya Yuga. Basic understanding of the difference between the body and the soul. Basic understanding between the subtle body and the gross body. That is also required. So, Ashochan, Anvashocastvam, whatever is not fit for lamentation, you are lamenting on that. A Dhira Purusha or a Pandita never laments for the body which is gone and the body which is not gone. Okay. Ashish Prabhu read the verse.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Asocya Nanvasocastvam Pragnavadanscha Bhasase Gatasru Nagatasumscha Nanasochanti Panditaha.
You're really reciting like Pandita. Read. Really very nice.
Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, well, thank you.
Read.
While speaking the learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. My connection is unstable. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Hello?
Read. Somewhere some cut was there. Read loudly.
So you're mourning for... Yeah. Okay. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for living nor for dead. Purport. The Lord at once looked at the presence of the teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. The Lord said, you are talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who is learned, one who knows what is body and what is soul. does not lament for any stage of the body, neither in the living nor in the dead conditions. As explained in the later chapter, it will be clear that knowledge means to know matter and the spirit and the controller of both. Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology, but he did not know that knowledge of matter, soul, and supreme is even more important than religious formularies. And because he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man. As he did not happen to be a very learned man, he was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body learned, and for him there is no cause for lamentations, regardless of the conditions of the material body.
A learned man is not at all bothered about the living body, nor about the body, the living body or the dead body. Living body is a subtle body and the dead body is the gross body. Now Krishna started with this because he was lamenting, no? They are my people. Now, to teach Sankhya, first thing Krishna does is teaching him about the individuality of the soul. You are an individual, I am an individual. All the kings are also individuals. Everyone is individual. That means our identification is on the spiritual platform. Identification is on the spiritual platform, not on the material platform. Natvevaham chatunasam natvam neme janadipaha nachaiva na bhavishyamah sarve vayam hata param natvevaham chatunasam natvam neme janadipaha nachaiva na bhavishyamah sarve vayam hata param. See word to word. Don't see directly the meanings. Na tu evaha aham chat. There was not a time when I na asam. There was not a time when I did not exist. That means I have always existed. Na tvam na ime janadipaha. Nor you nor these kings. There was not a time when all of you were not existing. Na chaiva na bhavishyama. Even in future also we all will be existing. Na bhavishyama sarve ataha param. It is not that we are going to cease to exist, that means we all will be existing in the future also. Then on what platform Krishna is speaking? Somebody can say Krishna is speaking on the bodily platform. I do all the things. Now suppose Krishna is speaking on the bodily platform. Then Krishna and Arjuna are on the equal platform. Then. Even the kings are also equal platform. Then why you need a speaker and a listener? The speaker is Krishna, and the listener is Arjuna. If both are on the same platform, then to whom you have to hear? To an authority you hear, no? Who is superior to you, you are hearing. So Krishna is superior to Arjuna. That is why Arjuna is seeking the advice from Krishna. So both of them cannot be on the same platform. So even if you accept it, both are on the same platform. Now, then the body of Arjuna has defects. Human body has defects. We studied in the introduction. To commit mistakes, to get illusion, cheating propensity, defective senses. So all these things are there. So imperfect senses. Now, if Krishna is Krishna's body, king's body, Arjuna's body, every body is compared, then Krishna's body also should have defects. If Krishna's body has a defect, how is it that his speech is completely flawless? There is no defect at all. Okay, this is one argument. Another argument is, if Krishna is speaking all on this bodily platform, then in the previous one, Krishna is rejecting and even scolding Arjuna. That don't talk like a Pandita. A Pandita never mourns for the living nor for the dead body. So in the same way, Krishna is not speaking on the bodily platform. In the previous verse itself, Krishna has rejected the bodily platform. Now, who is existing? The soul. The soul is existing. The soul will exist. Soul is going to exist. Soul is existing. Soul was existing. Soul will be existing. Now, there is a difference between Krishna and Jiva. Krishna never changes the body. We change the body. Krishna never changes the body. We change the body. Krishna's body and Krishna is one person. So when Krishna is speaking, then Krishna is speaking on the spiritual platform. Well, all of us were existing, are existing, and will be existing. That is why Bhagavad Gita, every one of us have heard in some capacity or other. That is why the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is not from outside to inside. It is from inside to outside. Okay. Gopika Mataji, read Golokri, not Gopika, Goloka, read.
Hare Krishna. Natve aham jatu nasham.
Natve aham. Why aham? Natve vaham. Don't break. Natve vaham.
Aham jatu nasham. Natvam neme janadipaha. Nachaiva na bhavishyamaha. Sarve vayam atah param.
न चैव न भविष्यामः श्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम्. Read second line. Read second line.
Nachaiva. Can I read from starting?
No, second line.
Nachaiva na bhavishyamaha. Sarve
Bhavishyamah. Bhavishyamah.
Bhavishyamaha sarve vayam mata param. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it is said that Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of different situations according to individual work and reaction of work. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also by his plenary portions alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. Nityo nityanam chetanas
Nityo
chetanam.
nityanam chetanas chetananam. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam. Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kamam. Read along with me. Tamatmastham
Tamatmastham ye.
ye anupashyanti dhiras.
Ye nupashyanti dhiras.
Tesham shanti shashvati netaresham.
Tesham shantiti shashvati netresham. The same
So
Vedic
Krishna is Nityo Nityanam, eternal of all eternals. Chetanas Chetananam.
The same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned but factually have have but a poor fund of knowledge. The Lord says clearly that he himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings, and that the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their condition and in their liberated situations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme individual person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. Their individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause of lamentation for anyone. The Mayavadi theory that after liberation, the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the supreme authority, nor is the theory that we only think of individuality in the conditioned state supported herein. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also, the individuality of the Lord and others, as it is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. This statement of Krishna's is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion. If individuality were not a fact, then Krishna would not have stressed it so much, even for the future. The Mayavadi may argue that the individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Even accepting the argument that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms his individuality in the past and confirms his individuality in the future also. He has confirmed his individuality in many ways. An impersonal Brahman has been declared to be subordinate to him. Krishna has maintained spiritual individuality all along. If he is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture. A common man with all the four defects of human frailty is unable to teach that which is worth hearing. The Gita is above such literature. No mundane books compare with the Bhagavad Gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, the Gita loses all importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional and that it refers to the body. But previous to this verse, such a bodily conception is already condemned. After condemning the bodily conception of the living entities, how was it possible for Krishna to place a conventional proposition on the body again? Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed by great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja and others. It is clearly mentioned in many places in the Gita that this spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees of the Lord. Those who are envious of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no bona fide access to the great literature. The non-devotees' approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. One cannot have a taste of honey unless one opens the bottle. Similarly, the mysticism of the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees and no one else can taste it, as it is stated in the 4th chapter of the book. Nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. Therefore, the Mayavadi explanation of the Gita is the most misleading presentation of the whole truth. Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentations made by the Mayavadis and warns that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. If individual, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and the Lord is an eternal fact, and it is confirmed by the Vedas as above mentioned.
So Krishna is speaking on the not on the bodily platform. Krishna is speaking on the spiritual platform. When Krishna says, I exist before, now, after. You are existing before, now, after. All these kings will exist before, now, after. That means now you all are changing the bodies, but my body remains the same. Krishna is always the same. Krishna is completely spiritual. And Krishna says, I. Krishna did not say, Krishna's, it's not that Krishna's body is different. Krishna's body would have been different from the soul, then the bodily platform defect would have been there. Krishna is completely transcendental to all the modes of material nature. So Krishna's body is beyond. Krishna's body and Krishna is one person, that is why he's Advaitam. Okay. So now, after saying the individuality of the soul, now Krishna is saying, you are also, you all, that means you are spiritual, you are soul. Now what happens? The soul passes through many bodies. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhiras tattranamayyati. Wherever this word comes, dehi, ayam, enam, sharirinah, they all refer to soul. 4 ways the soul is called. Dehi, write down. Dehi, sharirinah, ayam, enam. So wherever ayam is there, understand what is, who is mentioned, soul is mentioned. Enam, soul. Sharirinaha, soul. Sharira, body. Sharirinaha, soul. Dehi, soul. Deha, body. So this Dehi is undergoing different types of body. Within this lifetime itself, there is Kaumaram Deha, Yauvanam Deha, then Jara, that is old age Deha. Then afterwards, when unfit to stay, new Deha, Tha Dehantara Prapti. Dhiras Tatra Muhyate. The Dhira Purusha is never affected by such change. Oh, Aditya Prabhu, read.
Hare Krishna. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhirastatvana muhyati. Translation: as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Purport: since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. This individual soul finally changes the body at death and transmigrates to another body. And since it is sure to have another body in the next birth, either material or spiritual, there was no cause for lamentation by Arjuna on account of death, neither for Bhishma nor for Drona, for whom he was so much concerned. Rather, he should rejoice for their changing bodies from old to new ones, thereby rejuvenating their energy. Such changes of body account for varieties of enjoyment or suffering according to one's work in life. So Bhishma and Drona, being noble souls, were surely going to have spiritual bodies in the next life, or at least life in heavenly bodies for superior enjoyment of material existence. So in either case, there was no cause of lamentation. Any man who has perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, the super soul, and nature, both material and spiritual, is called a dhira, or a most sober man. Such a man is never deluded by the change of bodies. The Mayavadi theory of oneness of the spirit soul cannot be entertained, on the ground that the spirit soul cannot be cut into pieces as a fragmental portion. Such cutting into different individual souls would make the supreme cleavable or changeable against the principle of the supreme souls being unchangeable. As confirmed in the Gita, the fragmental portion of the supreme exists eternally, Sanatan, and are called Shara. That is, they have a tendency to fall down into material nature. These fragmental portions are eternally so, and even after liberation, the individual soul remains the same, fragmental. But once liberated, he lives an eternal life in bliss and knowledge with the personality of Godhead. The theory of reflection can be applied to the supersoul, who is present in each and every individual body and is known as the Paramatma. He is different from the individual living entity. When the sky is reflected in water, the reflections represent both the sun and the moon and the stars also. The star can be compared to the living entities and the sun or the moon to the Supreme Lord. The individual fragmented spirit soul is represented by Arjun and the Supreme Soul is the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. They are not on the same level as it will be apparent in the beginning of the fourth chapter. If Arjuna is on the same level with Krishna and Krishna is not superior to Arjuna, then their relationship of instructor and instructed becomes meaningless. If both of them are deluded by the illusory energy Maya, then there is no need of one being an instructor and the other the instructed. Such instruction would be useless because in the clutches of Maya, no one can be an authoritative instructor. Under the circumstances, it is admitted that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord, superior in position to the living entity, Arjuna, who is a forgetful soul deluded by Maya. Hare Krishna.
So now the individual soul and super soul. What is the difference? Soul has a tendency to forget, but Krishna remembers everything. Krishna is remembering that in the past you were existing, all these things were existing. Arjuna forgot that. That is the difference between individual soul and the super soul. So Krishna is automatically superior in position. He is instructing. So he is instructing and he cannot be compared on the bodily platform with others. So this comparison that we all are going to exist, we all were existing, are existing, that is all on the spiritual platform. And this soul is going on changing the bodies. We are crying, oh, this person will be dead. But within this lifetime itself, we have changed so many bodies. If somebody is asking us our photo, will we present our small childhood photo? See, I am there. I'll say, this is my childhood body. We cannot say this is my body. This is this is my identification. No, this is my childhood body. This is my youth body. In the old age, if you present your 1-year-old body, then anybody will laugh. So that is how we should understand. We have already changed so many bodies. Hero Purusha never gets affected. Arjuna can say it's very easy to talk. Cannot see our own people dying. Then Krishna says, what to do? Only one solution, you have to tolerate. There's no other solution. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agamapayino nityah tansitikshasva bharata matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agamapayino nityah tansitikshasva bharata. Matra, that means tanmatra, sense objects. We have done 24 elements chart, earth, water, fire, air, ether. We have sense organs. There is knowledge gaining senses. For earth, it is nose. For fire, it is eyes. For water, it is tongue. For air, it is skin. For ether, it is nose. Then you have corresponding sense objects. For eyes, for earth, nose, then smell. Water, tongue, to taste. Fire, eyes, so sight. Then you have skin, the touch. Then you have ears, sound. So these tanmatras affect our consciousness. Somebody calls me beautiful. Whole day I look at the mirror and say, okay. So then immediately after 2 hours, he has removed the word beauty and he's calling fool. Then I just start crying. Just these are only 2 words, beautiful. But we are affected. Why? We forget our duties. We forget that we are actually transcendental. We are also spiritual. We have forgotten that. We are affected by the sight. We are affected by the sound. These tanmatras are going to come. It is like sukha and dukha. Matras sparsha, when it touches. Tanmatras. But they are external, but still they are influencing our consciousness. Matra, Sparshastu Kunti. Oh, Kunti Putra. Kunti never got affected. When Kunti has seen so many difficulties, she has undergone so many difficulties, and she is unaffected. We have the Kunti Maharani prayers which is going on in Nagpur ISKCON. So very clearly Kunti Maharani says, I am not affected at all. Just I finished the class and came. So Krishna, Kunti Maharani says, I am not at all affected by any dukkhas. Instead, I am asking all the dukkhas again. So that's such a dashing personality, such a dashing mother you have. And you are crying just because you're seeing something. That sight has affected your consciousness to such a level that you forgot your duty. Matra sparshasta konte. Shita, Ushna, Shitoshna, Sukha Dukkada. Like how Shita. Shita means cold. Ushna, summer. So cold seasons, summer seasons. You have tolerated. Sukha Dukkha. Because you have tolerated. They will come, Agam, Apayana. They will go. They will come, they will disappear. So it will come on its own accord, it will go also. So what happens? You have to be tolerant. Titikshasvaha. Titikshasvaha means just tolerate of Bharata. So here tolerance has been taught. Okay, Preeti, read.
Hare Krishna.
Matra sparshasti kaunteya. Read.
Matra sparshasatu kaunteya.
Loudly, voice is not heard.
Matra sparshasatu kaunteya. Sitoshna sukha dukhadaha. Agama paino nitya. Agama paino nityasa. Tam
Nitya, so you should
stitiksh
not say. Nitya.
nitya. Tam stitikshva bharata.
Tam titikshasva.
Tam titikshashva bharata.
Tikshasva.
Titikshashva, difficult. Titikshashva. Titikshashva bharata.
Titikshasva. Titikshasva.
Titikshasva.
Tikshasva.
Titikshasva bharata. I'll read the translation.
Yes.
O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Purport. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magh, that is January to February. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest parts of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriyas, and although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge, because by knowledge and devotion only one can liberate himself from the clutches of Maya, that is illusion. The two different names of address given to Arjun are also significant. To address him as Kaunteya signifies his great blood relation from his mother's side, and to address him as a Bharata signifies his greatness from his father's side. From both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Therefore, he cannot avoid fighting.
So his address is Kaunteya, his address is Bharata. That means you're coming from such a high background. And now you are affected by sight. It is just a sight which is affecting your consciousness. What should be the consciousness? I am always a servant of Krishna. Krishna is telling you should listen. It is said Krishna speaks directly to Arjuna. Krishna speaks to the spiritual master. Spiritual master says something, just hear. But if you have effect buds, then you are not a Bharata. You are not a Kaunteya. You are just affected by the sight. The sight has affected your consciousness. The sound has affected your consciousness. Somebody scolds. You are affected with Christ. But that person cannot scold the soul. But we are affected by the sound, we are affected by the sight, we are affected by the smell. Krishna says, Titiksha, so tolerate. 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 Never give up your duties. As clearly told to Arjuna, don't give up your duties. Just tolerate. Now in the 15th verse, those who
Mataji,
tolerate.
Mataji, Kaunteya refers to Arjuna
Kunti
by his
Mata's son.
mother name.
Kunti, mother's
Kunti
son.
Mata. Then Bharat is, refers by his father.
Bharat
His father name
family.
was
This comes
Pandu.
from the Bharat heritage of Bharat. Bharat
Okay.
was the king. The whole Bharat. Yam
Okay.
hina vetayantyete.
Correct.
Yam hina vetayantyete. Purusham purusharshava. Samadukha sukhathiram. Somrutatvaya kalpate. Yam hina vetayantyete. Vethant. Vethit mat ho. That means don't get distressed. One who is not distressed. Oh, one who is not distressed. Purusham purusharshava. You are the best among the men. Samadukha sukadhiram is equal in both the circumstances. That Dhira Purusha is eligible for liberation. Somrutatvaya kalpata. He is fit for liberation because at every circumstances he has not forgotten his swarupa. Mukti hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthi. Jivera swarupo hai Krishnera nityadas. He has not forgotten his duties. So he is eligible for somrutatva. That means he is eligible for higher planetary systems. That is by more than the higher planetary system, that is spiritual planets, that is Vaikuntha planets, then Goloka planets, Ayodhya planets, Sakit planets. He is eligible to go to spiritual planets. Okay, Mohini, read.
Hare Krishna. Yamahina Bhathante Yete.
What?
Yamahina
Yama is
Bhathante.
there, Yamaraj will come there. Yama is there. Yam.
Yama. Sorry.
Again?
Yam.
Yam.
Okay.
Yam hi.
Yam hi na vyatante ete.
Vethayantyete. Vethayanti.
Vyatahante ete.
Vethayantyete.
Okay. Vyatahante ete.
Ant is not there. You are calling Yamaraj. You are calling Anta. No. Vethayantyete. Yant. Vyatha. You say Vyatha.
Vyatha.
Vyatha. Vyatha.
Vyatayante ete.
Wait. What I said to pronounce? Vyatha. Say Vyatha.
Vyatha.
Yan.
Yan.
Tiete. Tiete.
Tiyate.
Tiete.
Ete.
Tete नहीं. Tiete. Tiete.
Diyate.
Tiete. Tie. Tie.
Ta.
Tie.
Ta. Mataji ta.
Ta is there. Ta is
Yes.
there. Ya is
Yes.
also there. So tiete.
Tiyate.
Okay.
Okay.
Tiete.
Again.
Vethayantyete.
Vyathayan tiyate.
Tiyete.
Tiyete.
Very good.
Vyathayan tiyete. Purusham.
Tiyete is not there. Tiyete is not there. Tiyete. Tiye.
Okay. Tiyete. Okay.
Tiyete.
Mataji, please forgive me.
No, nothing like that. It all happens. After some time, you'll be pronouncing very nicely. Vyathayan tiyete.
Vyathayante yete.
Anybody yete vete is not there.
Mataji.
Vyathayan tiyete. Read slowly.
Vyathayan tiyete.
Tiyete. Tiyete.
Vyathayan tiyete.
You see that in Hindi, na?
Please, Lord Krishna, take my mercy. This word not for me, please.
Tiyete. Say tiyete.
Tete.
Tiyete.
Tiyete.
Very good. Purusham. Now don't tell again. Huh? Go ahead. Purusham Purusham.
Purusham Purushar Sabha. Sama Dukha Sukham Dhiram So Mratavya Kalpate.
Somrutattvaya.
Mataji, so many noises are there. Please forgive me today, please.
Somrutattvaya.
Somrutattvaya. Right?
Very good.
Kalpate. Kalpate. Okay. May I read?
Then, no, wait. Narmada, you read.
Oh.
Narmada has got very scoldings. Read. Yam hi na vyathayantyete. Unmute yourself. You become like Samadhi now. Okay. Chant.
यम्या है माताजी.
What? 1 minute. Yam hi.
यम ही ना व्यद्यांति.
Vyathayantyete. Whoever pronounces this now can pronounce everything. Vyathayantyete.
व्यद्यांत्यति.
Purusham Purusharshava.
पुरुषं पुरुष सपः.
Samadukha
दुःख सुखधीरं
Somrutattvaya
कल्पते.
Kalpate. Mayur Prabhu. Chant.
यम ही न व्यथयन्त्येते पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभ समदुःख सुखं धीरं सोमृतत्वाय कल्पते.
At last, somebody has pronounced very nicely. This is the most important verse. Practice. Vyathayantyete. Okay. Now, yam hina vyathayantyete. Somebody is not distressed because of this peaceful and dukkha. That person is eligible to liberation, to get liberation. What is liberation? To always serve Krishna. Simple. What is liberation for a devotee? To always serve Krishna. What is liberation for a jnani? To merge with the impersonal Brahman. See, both, even jnani, even a yogi, a bhakta, has to control his senses. So, but what is mukti for each? For mukti for a jnani is merging into impersonal Brahman. Mukti for a yogi, again, merging in the impersonal Brahman. What is a mukti for a devotee? Again, do the service to Krishna. Always be engaged in Krishna's service. So he is eligible for serving. Okay. Read. Mayur Prabhu, read.
Translation. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress is steady in both is suddenly eligible for liberation. Purport. Anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. In the in the Varnashrama institution, the fourth stage of life, namely the renounced order, sannyasa, is a painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyasa order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to severe family relationships, to give up connection of wife and children. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyasa at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife as well as old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for a higher cause, he took sannyasa and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage.
Performing one's spiritual duties. That is a real liberation. Now, 16th verse. Change is the nature of the world. Change is the nature of the world. We cannot change. The moment the child is shifted from one class to another class, we see the psychology changes. The moment you are shifted from one office to another office, you are completely like what to do. The moment you take some decision to change, there is always a disturbance in the house. You change the school, parents shout, grandparents. But change is the nature of the world. And this is a material world. Material world means change is there. Only the eternal world, there is no change. Nasato vittate bhavo, na bhavo vittate satah, ubayorapi drushtun Vanayosattvadarshibihi nasato vidyate bhavo abhavo vidyate satah ubhayorapi drushtuntah vanayostаттvadarshibhi na asat na asat vidyate bhavo na bhavo. Asat has no endurance. It is not permanent. That is the matter of the body. It is not permanent. It is going to change. In the same way, the whole, Krishna is saying, you're crying for this body is going to change. The whole world is going to change. Change is the nature we try to maintain. It is not going to happen. Change is going to be there. Change is the nature of the spiritual world. Na asat bhava. Asat na bhav. But what about sat? Na abhav. Two negatives are put. Bhava means permanent. Abhava means not permanent. Na not permanent. Permanent. Two negatives make one positive. Na abhava. Ityate satah. That means sat is bhava. Bhava means what? Sat never changes. Ubhayorapi drushtontah. Those who knows this, who has seen this, ubhayo, both of this, who has observed drishta, drushtontah, vanayos tattvadarshibi. Tu anayaha tattvadarshibi. He is the seer of the truth. So write this word darshibihi. Here darshibihi is there. Who is Tattvadarshi? 4.34 also Darshibihi is there. Anyway, we are going to do, but first you mark this. Write in behind your book somewhere when it comes to different Darshibihi, there we'll discuss. In 2.16, one who is a seer of the truth has been shown. Darshibihi. This word, Darshibihi. Darshinaha. That means they are all seers of the truth. They know it. Darshibihi, Darshinaha. This all is going to come. So when that time comes, you should remember in 2.16 also we had Darshibihi. So that is why mark it in the back of the notebook. So it will be very easy to fetch. And you should know where you marked also. It should not happen. You forget only where you marked. Right. Okay. Gita Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So when Mataji is
Nasado.
reading, all of you also read very slowly. Nasado. Read. All
Hare
of your
Krishna.
mouth should go here and there like this. Many of the
Nasado.
words are so twisting. It goes here and there. Narmada, your lips should move. Yeah. Gautam.
Nasado vid.
Nasato. Read.
I should read, na?
Yeah.
Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, uphayorabi drishtvandastatvanayos tattvadarshibhi.
Ubayorapi drishtvantaha vanayos
Uphayorabi drishtvantaha anayos
vanayos
tattvadarshibhi. Anayos
vanayos
tattvadarshibhi.
darshibihi
Uphayorabi drishtvantaha anayos tattvadarshibhi.
vanayo
Tvanayo darshibi. Tvanayo tattvadarshibhi. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Purport. There is no endurance of the changing body, that the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit's soul exists permanently, remaining in the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, but both impersonalist and personalist. In the Vishnu Purana 2:1238, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Jodipsni Vishnur Bhuvanani Vishnu. The words existent and non-existent refer only to spirit and matter. That is the version of all seers of truth. This is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the supreme personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the supreme being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutras as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the supreme, and the energy or nature is subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Energy or nature, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught, such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance. And to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time. Hare Krishna.
So Lord is removing the ignorance. And because of this ignorance, we think that whatever is around me, it is going to be permanent. We are trying to make a permanent and a very happy atmosphere. This is also going to change. Everything is going to change. Change is the nature of the world. So Dhira Purusha is not affected because he knows. He knows the body now, which is looking very smart, dynamic, one day it will vanish. So a Dhira Purusha is not affected. We'll stop here. Okay. So much of tongue twisting became. So I'm stopping. Any questions?
Mataji, one question. How to be a Dhir Purusha?
By chanting and simply following the instructions of the spiritual master. Whatever our spiritual master says, we should follow. That is most important. Dhira lies in tolerance. If we do what we like, then where is Dhira? Because the spiritual master teaches us. Shiksha Guru, Shiksha Guru. They are meant for that only. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Anyone else?
Mataji, Sashwati meaning Sashwati.
What?
Sashwati.
Which verse? Which verse?
Tesham Santi Sashwati Netresham.
What? Which verse? Verse number?
12.
12. What is
Sloka.
it? 12.
In between
What is
sloka.
it? Natve vaham chatunasam natvam neme janadipaha.
Not there.
Not it. Then
Fourth lines in between paras. Nitto Nittam.
okay, Netaresham. Okay, that. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetanam. That way. So Netaresham. Tam Atmastham Anupashyanti Dhiras. Tesham Shanti Shashvatam Netaresham. You have to see that. You should maintain your peace by just understanding that Lord is sitting in one's heart. And in this way, he Eko Bahunam. Yo Vididhati Kaman. The same person is there in your heart, my heart, everyone's heart. So he is the same one person. So if a person knows this, he will be peaceful. Tesham Shanti. He knows this truth that Lord is present in everyone's heart. He is peaceful. Okay. Anyone else? No doubts? Stop here. Mancha kalpataru vyascha kripa sindhu devacha patitanam pavani